Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Will. Hopefully, you're having a great day today. In this video, we're going to be going over the top stocks for this week that we want to watch into Monday, tomorrow morning. And I already see in the live chat, oops, looks like I'm sharing the wrong screen. One moment. Meant to share a different screen here. Hold on. And let's see. Can you guys see my Robinhood screen now? Okay, cool. Awesome. So should be clear. Should be able to see it. And let's jump in. So really excited to do this live session with you guys. I see Aaron says, another one, let's go. Ready for the trading week. I love that. You got Eric says, let's go. And then B Winner says that they love it. And Ultimate Bounce says, hi, mates. And what's going on, man? Hi. Hopefully, you guys are having a good day today. So we're going to jump in here. Good evening there to Jay Zev. Jay Zev, happy to see you there. Real Estate Rescue Podcast says, Will, can you please take a look at LWLG after FAPLD? For sure. So we're going to start off with APLD. We'll go into that one. We'll take a look there. Thanks so much for the donation. Really appreciate that. Don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. William says, going to be a great week where there's a will, there's a way. Let's go, man. I love that. The willpower. Well, from William Walker there. Eric, thumbs up, everyone. Let's go. All right. And TMC from MU. Mike says, any updates on APLD? That's what we are going to start off with here, Mike. And then you got Rigetti. Would love to take a look at Rigetti. That's an exciting one. That is an exciting one over in the quantum market. And then you got Nebius. Potentially, we could take a look there. Sean says, great content. Awesome, Sean. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. And we're going to jump in. And we're going to get started now. So here it is. We got Real Estate Rescue Podcast. Came in with $4.99. Says LWLG. So we're going to jump into that one just after APLD. APLD is going to be the first one. Let's jump right in. Let's take a look. So we got AI and LLM here. I think we could even maybe find it in semiconductors because they do build data centers. We're going to jump in and see what it looks like. So APLD. APLD, we've seen it have this really pretty insane trend here. It's interesting. I don't know what's going on with all my indicators, my RSI, my MACD and stuff. They just seem really small. I don't know where they are. That's okay. We can go not as technical. I'm not sure why that is. Huh. If I add the indicator, is it gonna jump in? Huh. It's not like showing up. Normally it shows my RSI, my MACD. Oh, there we go. There we go. And cool. So we got a full breakdown. Can you guys see that on the screen? You guys could see everything okay. Looks like you might not be able to see. We're going to make sure everybody could see the time frames too. So I'm going to move this a little bit skinnier here. And there. Now you can see the kind of dates there as well. Cool. All right, so we're going to jump in. We got APLD. Let's get right into it. So APLD is a company that builds data centers, and specifically, they work with some of the biggest companies in the world. Now, again, I hope that our SpaceX internet, our Starlink works good. I relocated it, but I didn't have time to fully align it yet. So hopefully it works and you guys can see me and hear me. We got this growth happening here where it really broke out to $34 back in 2021. A lot of growth there along with Nvidia. We saw it sell off and really just get down to as low as $1 or $2 in this range. It's quite interesting how it was able to just get up in those huge market caps and sell all the way down. And after being very undervalued, it surged back up to $11 and then has been kind of consolidating between these levels. And we saw it peak out. It was start of the year, even in April, actually, not start of the year, it was at $3.30, and it surged on a $7 billion deal that happened in early June, and it rocketed up to $15 per share on a $7 billion deal with CoreWeave before selling off here, and now it's at a support. Now it looks like last time we did an analysis of it, we were seeing this support level at about $9 a share. And we're talking about how if it holds that level, that we could potentially see it as a range at which we would potentially buy and look for a recovery. Now we didn't end up getting into it again or anything like that. We were just kind of monitoring the level and we're saying, hey, it's kind of down here. It's even dropped a little bit more. Could we see that move play out? And right now, it seems that it still has got some momentum down. There's a support at $9. We got to watch there. But this move is the type of move that we may be watching this week. So the reason we have it on our radar, you can look at this move here. But essentially, in the data center world, APLD, when we pull up their financials, they have seen their revenue going up, and it's been a little bit volatile, but you can see the blue, the revenue going up. And I see that Marty says CTM. We'll take a look there, Marty. For sure. And then Mio Era says, Will, what are you thinking about Rich Tech? We could take a look there. And C Jernigan says APLD, let's go. So again, APLD. There's a lot of news, maybe not a ton of news, but a good amount of news, and we see their revenue increasing. On an annual basis, they've seen their revenue increase pretty well, about 200% year over year. But their net income was down, and they did have negative net income. Now, when we looked at their balance sheet recently, it was looking a little risky. $762 million in assets, that blue, which is good, but their financials indicated that their liabilities were high. Then we get into the quarter, we saw their liabilities boost back up, continue to boost, while their assets boosted up to 1.7 billion, while their total assets didn't. However, what you got to look at really is just see that total assets, it's increasing more than their liabilities. Usually that's a good sign. Basically what that means is that we're seeing them stack their cash. And as far as press releases, they're building some data centers, quite a few data centers. And the way that they build data centers is fairly smart. You can see this 15-year lease agreement with CoreWeave, estimated to be worth about $7 billion. They've been building data centers in cold places to be able to capitalize on the fact that there's not as much heat. So that was something I got a lot of value from hearing you guys say about APLD. And part of why we covered it was because any company building data centers, it's a good market, doesn't necessarily guarantee success. But what we've seen recently with this company is that they have a very strong focus on specifically the energy source, so strategically placed near renewable energy sources, scalability, power efficiency, and they really do focus on being close to wind turbines, being close to solar, being close to the hydroelectric, all that stuff. And on top of that, we've seen them continue to build some good partnerships. They got Super Microcomputer there, Swarm One, trusted by NVIDIA, Dell, Intel. So it seems they're on the right track. It seems they're going to see some more growth. So we kind of looked at the financials, you see it play out, and then now this is the move. So if they hold this $9 range, and that can happen where we see maybe a reversal, excellent. Even in the downtrend it's in right now, kind of looks like, just from a technical perspective, that while it's kind of getting rejected here, you can see this rejection, it's like selling off, right? You see that? Then you got this support level, support. It's possible that it doesn't hold here and it continues to sell down. That would be very conservative. And we'll have to see how the market reacts, especially with Powell from the Federal Reserve reportedly stepping down. If we see that positively impact the market, let's say that happens, we could see maybe a move like this, an 18% uptick. So that's APLD's margins. That what we'll be looking at market open is for them to validate that $9 support, maybe even start to get some momentum with the rest of the market on Monday, so tomorrow morning. When market opens, and if we see that happen, we'll be watching APLD, because why would we watch it? Again, growing markets, financials looking better, and a lot of good news for the company. So that's why we'll be watching it at market open. So let's jump into the next one there. Real Estate Rescue says LWLG. And are you familiar with what market they are in? LWLG. Let's take a look. It appears that they recently have had a lot of manipulation, and they've sold down pretty heavily. Now, it's not a deal breaker. Let's just verify the value that they're bringing to the world here as we kind of continue. And I see Elizar says, can you go over Oscar? Yes, we can. True Blue Giant says, I'm happy loading on APLD every week, bringing the average cost down. Nice. That's awesome. So let's take a look. You got this downtrend happening with LWLG pretty consistently. It's possible that in the downtrend we see something like this, where it continues to sell down, or even it bounces up to this resistance in this $4 range, which could be, a 2x even, or 3x. But before I get into it, just a note, it's had a lot of quietness for years and then had a big spike, and we see it sell off since then in 2021. So here, really for the last 2 years, 3 years, it's just been gradually selling off. So let's take a look at what might contribute to them serving the world and why their stock would go up. LWLG. Of course, we could look at the technicals more, but let's understand potentially how they are bringing value to the marketplace. So we got this right here. We'll open that. We have the financials, which just kind of at a glance, their price at $1.37, market cap's at 171 million. So very, very small market cap. And maybe not a lot of news. I don't know if there's news. Let's just take a look. Is there any hype or anything like that? Not really a lot of news. There's a Yahoo Finance article here that says there's 3 hedge funds that hold the stock, and they develop high-speed electro-optic polymers. And they got 27 million in cash until February 2026. So they're kind of like a startup, even though they're like they're a startup kind of, even though they're like public. But they go by Lightwave Logic, and their goal is to achieve 400 gigabytes per second, which is basically there to make, if they're able to target, let's say, 800 gigahertz module frequencies, by the looks of it, they're going to be able to transmit very, very fast information, which would be very helpful for AI and potentially could be really valuable for the marketplace. And so let's kind of jump in and see how their contribution has been so far. That's the type of solution that seems like it would be valuable for the tech world. I like to see that they have real world images of what they do, not just, random stuff, although that does look slightly strange. Definitely seems like, I mean, it looks cool. I'm not sure exactly what that is or why that has anything to do with them transferring data. So let's see. What they do, they are a technology platform company leveraging its proprietary technology to develop next generation electro optic. And let's take a look. I'm going to get into the financials real quick. But before we do, patent platform, technology platform. So they got a bunch of patents apparently. Now you got no voltage applied. They are potentially able to, again, move very, 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 very fast, it seems, data. So essentially, it could be very, very good technology for data centers, I think, or for connecting electronics. They got 70 international patents and US patents for applications that are issued or pending. There's nothing that I see as valuable about that. I can go make a patent. Just because you have a patent doesn't mean it's valuable. Um, so I don't see anything valuable about necessarily having a patent until we can see what it is that it does. So as far as recent, let's take a look at their recent press releases so we get a look here. They got a new vice president. They got attending a conference there. They're developing more of their product. They are at more conferences. They introduce what could be a technical partnership to accelerate introduction of 400 gigabyte per second per lane and beyond for AI and data center optical links. So that's good. Nothing that really shows that would increase their balance sheet. So let's kind of get into the financials and see what it is. LWLG. And we're going to jump into the financials. So from a financial perspective, they have 31 employees. That's okay. They're a $170 million company. Employees see a little bit low. Looks like they're in Inglewood, Colorado. That's cool. I used to live in Boulder, Colorado for about 2 years. Now, financials from an income statement perspective look very bad. You can see that the net income is negative 5 million, negative 6 million. In fact, their revenue isn't really increasing at all. They're making $20,000 maybe per quarter in revenue, which again breaks down to like, what is that? Like $7,000 a month that they make, and their net income is negative 6 million, 5 million. So again, financials don't make sense as far as an investment goes. A company will succeed to the degree at which it can sell a lot of times. So we all, succeed to that way, whether it's selling, for our company, selling our product, or it's selling our family on the good life, selling our friends on being better, or selling our spouse or our kids or our family on things that will, make things better. You're always selling, even if you're, let's say, getting sold to by somebody, you're probably selling why you shouldn't buy or something. Everybody's selling. So when it comes to the degree at which they're able to sell, if they're only bringing in like $7,000 a month, they are not even pre-selling their technology. So that's really not good. They need to sell more. When it comes to their balance sheet, they started off with a good amount of capital. They see that the total assets have been decreasing quarter over quarter. So you see decreasing total assets while the liabilities are holding around 4 million. So not necessarily anything breakthrough, no catalysts that would indicate why I would invest in them. Basically, their assets are decreasing and their stock price looks pretty heavily correlated with their assets because, their assets saw a big spike and now it's been declining in the last year. And it kind of looks like that's what their stock has been doing as well. So again, for that reason, I wouldn't look to invest in it. Now, if they had a legitimate breakthrough that showed signs of serious revenue potential, but also actual revenue and real world partnerships, then of course, recovery up into there can make sense, about a 200% increase. But no catalysts like that would lead me to believe that that's going to be the case. So for that reason, I wouldn't cover them. So hopefully that gives you the full breakdown there. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much for sharing. Again, just not really lined up with the type of financials that would put it in a good position to be successful at this moment. So Mike says, can you take a look at Rigetti? Let's do it. Rigetti stock is going to be over in our quantum watch list. And I see Luca is in here. Hey, Luca, how's it going? You got BYD, the Chinese stock. Should I sell instead? Throw it into maybe Rich Tech Robotics or Nightscope. Rich Tech Robotics has financials are way off on that company. If they start to see the financials kick in or something like that, maybe they could be a viable option. Nightscope, I haven't heard of it, but I do know BYD has a fairly good financials. But I mean, when it comes to the chart and all that, and Rich Tech, they have a lot of products, not a lot of employees, and not very good financials. If you're looking for a robotics company that has great financials and serious deals, Symbotic might be a good one. Symbotic has like $500 million contracts with Walmart and Target, I think like Albertsons and some others, where they have robots that do all of the inventory and stuff behind in the back of like Target and Walmart and stuff for them to basically transition into e-commerce. So pretty cool for Symbotic. They're also making money. So, but yeah, Rich Tech Robotics, super speculative, very unfavorable financials. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Moheen, what's going on, Moheen? I'm doing well. How are you? So you say, can you check Beam Therapeutics? Potentially. Let's finish up here on Rigetti. We're gonna jump into Rigetti, and then we'll go from there. I see Alan says BTBT. We'll take a look there, as well as Elizar says Oscar Health. TMC, we have looked at a lot. Their financials didn't make sense. Let me just double check, because I'm gonna get into Rigetti, but I get this request a lot. But look at TMZ. They're losing $20 million a quarter. They're losing about $80 million a year. Their balance sheet has more liabilities than assets. Is that a company you want to invest in? I'm not going to go into the chart, but if we looked at the chart, I would imagine it looks like it's like spiking up or something, probably building retail investor interest, and it's the liquidity for institutions or bigger to sell. So that's what's happening. Was that exactly what I said was going to happen? That's exactly what's happening. I don't say that to brag or anything. I mean, that's kind of what you see. That's kind of what you see with companies that have that poor financials but are driving up. So, yeah. When it comes to the future of technology, I think there is a tremendous amount of reliance on this curve, right? We talk about how much energy it's taking to run computers for data centers, for example, or to run ChatGPT, or to run Google, or all of these things. And when it comes to the value of AI and of the development of technology, it's kind of like everything becomes more efficient. Computers used to be huge and use way more energy and would be like 5 megabytes, like the size of this room behind me. And now, I look here, I got like my phone, it's like I can hold it in my hands. And it's like 10,000 times more efficient than those computers. And so, as we develop, what happens is people get more and more worried about, for example, technology using more energy, because it's like things become more technological. But actually what happens is they become more efficient, so efficient that it could require less energy for that computing power. And I think the kind of like pinnacle of getting to the point of very, 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 very low amount of energy being used and massive computational outputs, it's going to be quantum computing. Now, quantum computing, some of them use like trapped ion technology. We're getting down like to the atoms essentially. It's called ion Q. Rigetti is one that is really innovating as well, and their quantum computers have been getting developed here in California, just about 2 hours from where I live. They're over in Berkeley, and let's kind of jump into Rigetti. So we're gonna go over the market real quick. Quantum computing is growing really fast. We see the market's growing over $100 billion this year, and then most likely going to see some growth into the trillions of dollars in the next few years. Rigetti has this quantum computer where they have hardware and they also develop software, and the system is cooled by a dilution refrigerator, and you can kind of take a look here. So the first thing you have up here is the machine, the dilution refrigerator. When the computer is operational, 5 casings like the white one shown at the top of the image envelope the machine. And then from there, they're kind of like radiation shields and they act as thermal shields, and it's all vacuum sealed. You come down to the signal machine, and then these cables, there's like a ton of cables, deliver and condition microwave signals to and from the chip to drive qubit operations and return measured results. When you get into the temperature stages, these are gold-plated copper plates that separate cooling zones, and they plunge to 1/100th of a Kelvin, hundreds of times as cold as outer space, so super cold. Then you got the mixing chamber, and this is at the lowest, the coldest plate, and it sits the most critical hardware, including amplifiers, additional cables, filters, and mounts, all that stuff. And then you get down to the QPU. So this is really interesting. This is where you get down to the quantum processing unit. You may have heard of the GPU. The GPU is really common, and you got NVIDIA and AMD and Intel, all these companies building GPUs, right? And GPUs are big, but QPUs are kind of this new thing, and they're quantum processing units. They're superconducting quantum integrated circuits that power the quantum computer inside this metal package. And it thermalizes it and shields it from the environment. So essentially a microchip that all of this stuff is able to go down into. And a lot of the microchips being developed lately, you got like Google Willow chips. So let's see, it's Google Willow. This is the Google Willow chip. They created this one, and essentially the chip goes down into the very bottom of a quantum computer, kind of like this, so that the quantum computer runs, and it runs down into this chip, basically. So he's holding the little chip. This is the CEO and founder of Google. He's basically holding a chip there for where it goes in. Now, the interesting part is we haven't heard anything about Rigetti's chip, but one thing that Rigetti has, if we search the Microsoft, it's the Microsoft Majorana 1. So this chip is also going to be going at the bottom of a quantum computer, and this one actually looks very similar to what would go in the QPU over here. So if I open this up, you can kind of see what the QPU looks like. You see how the QPU is like this, and it has space for a chip. And I believe that this chip right here, this Majorana chip, essentially goes right there. So I can kind of like drop it in. But yeah, you see, it's like perfect fit. And it just so happens that, as we look at the development here, you could see that their main partners are like NASA, you got AWS, and look there, you got Microsoft. So Rigetti definitely seeing a lot of momentum. They're building their computers. They are selling them to mostly universities, but they are raising a lot of cash and they have built up a good amount of cash. So you have to be wary that they're still kind of a startup almost. And they got some Air Force Research Laboratory contracts, Air Force contract there. They got a DARPA contract. They're making a couple $1 million, I think, a quarter. And that's where we get to look at financials. So you can see the holders here. You got BlackRock, big holders. You got Vanguard. And then you have essentially you have State Street and Vanguard. And so as we get into Rigetti, and you can see the build out of all of the big companies buying them, then we look at their financials, and they're starting to really kind of ramp, I guess, on the revenue of in the annual basis of getting up into that 10 million, but nothing crazy. In fact, their net income has been very negative in the hundreds of millions, but the balance sheet looks good. They got a lot of assets, but they're spending a lot of money and they're making very little. And so the financials are very much what could be. So technology looks amazing. The news looks amazing. A lot of investors buying them, especially because of the government passing that recent bill for about 2.7 billion, which was the Quantum Reauthorization Act. And this bill was a $2.7 billion bill that was recently passed here for the quantum market. And so when we got into 2025, we get to see that play out. It's pretty good. So the market's growing, the cash is there. We're just waiting to see the revenue kick in. And as of now, that is where it becomes very risky. I think the long term would be promising for Rigetti, but we do see it kind of at a resistance here. You can kind of see this level right here. Let's take a look. So it's at a resistance. It recently sold off. It's kind of selling back down, crossed below the 200-day moving average and below that EMA. And so that's more bearish indication. It's coming back towards this rising support level here around $11.50. It just sold down to about $11.98 somewhere here on Friday. But yeah, it's trying to find that support. And if it does, then the next levels we'd be looking at, if let's say it continues, I think it would be rare to see this continue super bullish. But if it does and the market cap builds, it's a 52% upside. I think it's going to be slower. I think we got to just watch these levels, see how it plays in this range, as we could see it sell down another 5-10%. Wouldn't be crazy. But again, if it makes a run, it makes a run. I got long-term in Rigetti. So we'll be watching it there. When it comes to how much we followed it, again, we started covering it back around $1 a share. So you may have seen that we, got to meet some people in the quantum market, some CEOs, executives and stuff right after this crash. When it happened, we went to go to the event where it was announced and we got to meet some people. And that was really, really impactful on our understanding of the market and really just made it look like, hey, this quantum market's going to be around for a long time. It's just got to catch up on the value service delivery that they're going commercial with. So that's how it looks. Jesse James says, if it drops anymore, I'll probably keep picking up shares. Love that. For a long-term investor, the drops are super favorable. Hi, Will. What do you think of my portfolio? Palantir, AMD, BBAI, SoFi, Grab, and Fubo TV. Fubo is pretty cyclical. A lot of their trials get canceled, so they have high revenue but low net income. So Fubo, I don't think personally is one I would invest in, but those are just my ideas. Seems that you got a plan together. I think as long as you have a plan together, that's good. I personally do believe too that Palantir, personally, I believe it's overextended in its valuation. I don't believe that the value that they're bringing to the world at this moment in the form of commercialization and just the dollar values that they're seeing on their contracts justify their current market cap. I think they're a little overextended and a sell-off would make sense. AMD, you got 35% of your portfolio. I think AMD has been undervalued for a while. I think that there's a lot of potential. BBAI, long term, I see a lot of great growth for BBAI. The main thing is going to be seeing their earnings here for the next earnings here at the beginning of August. They have a lot of weight on those earnings. SoFi, yeah, personally, I think SoFi, they have fairly good financials, but I don't see them as innovating more than other financial companies. They're just kind of doing what other companies do. The most innovative part about SoFi that I think is actually their hidden advantage is their golf event thing that they sponsor, where all the pros are playing golf indoors in LA or something like that at a SoFi indoor arena, something like that. That's really cool. But other than that, as far as their actual product offering, do you use SoFi to invest? Do you find it to be better than others? Or is it just because there's a lot of people talking about it? That would be something to evaluate. Grab, I haven't seen it firsthand, but I've heard it's really big in a lot of countries. It's kind of like Uber Eats. Probably a good market to be looking at. EC says, I don't see many talking about GLXY. Yeah, we can take a look. So cool. There's a lot of companies to be looking at right now. One of the common ones we got here from Eleazar was Oscar Health. So I've done this one in the past, but we'll take a look very shortly. OSCR. So looks like last time we were analyzing it, we saw this bounce here. It didn't bounce. What was kind of the market? Or wait, we weren't bullish on this thing, were we? Looks like we drew a resistance here. It's been selling off. Let me back up here. Yes. So it's at a resistance. It got rejected. It just sold below the 200-day moving average and approaching a support there at about $13 a share. As far as the financials, I could take a look, but I'm fairly certain they were not too bad. Yeah, they were good. So revenues $3 billion with net income at 200 million plus. So fairly good. You could see they're making a lot more money than most other companies. Balance sheet, total liabilities slightly high there at about 4.5 billion, but not bad. Their liabilities went up more than their assets. That's okay. A lot of news, a lot of things coming out around the company. They got a $3 billion market cap. So with a $3 billion market cap, but still basically bringing in about $3 billion in revenue per quarter, I think that is very favorable. If you just kind of take a look at their PE ratio, though, it's about 59. Seems a little high. They got 2,400 employees, and when it comes to their chart, it looks like they're just slowly building this here. So they've recently pulled back. You do see a uptrend taking place here. You can kind of see that level at which it's been going up, and there's a few levels to this here. You kind of see that level. So it just sold down to here. There's a support right here, probably around this $13 range. And then the next target, I imagine, if it's going to go bullish and it wants to continue that bull trend, maybe it sells down some more, but essentially you'd be looking, I imagine, for a swing like this. That's about a 63% increase. So definitely a nice margin for profit. As long as you have a plan in place, I don't see anything wrong with watching Oscar and potentially looking for that trade. They've had some interesting financials. I think that their revenue is pretty high, which is good. So just got to keep watching it. A-Name says, let's get it. I love the enthusiasm. You got Jesse says CTM earnings on 8.8. Yeah, they're a little bit further away. CTM is the one Jesse was talking about. He says that's the one I'm adding to. I did not look at RKLB yet. No, we didn't. Yep, that's cool. And then you got Elias says, anyone interested in LEU? Gilubaba says thoughts on ONDS. Moeen says Exobionics. There's quite a few there. I'll take a screenshot, make sure I can get it together. What we'll be doing is a little bit more of a segmentation to save people time. We'll most likely come out with, top 5, top 10 robotics, top 5 or top 10 data centers, top 5 or 10 AI companies, maybe defense, quantum companies, space companies. Those videos seem to be very helpful to do on a consistent basis as the market shifts and we see emerging companies. So most likely we'll be doing some more of those. I got time for one more, and I think the one we're looking at here, we did a BBAI video yesterday, and the market hasn't really shifted since that video. So Rodrigo, if you want to get that full breakdown, then I would encourage you to go have a look at the link I'll drop here in the chat for you. It was just yesterday that we did a new breakdown with a few new ideas on Big Bear, which is it was exciting, I think. And I'll drop it in the chat for you if you want to go get that full breakdown on BBAI. We didn't cover it today, but that was kind of the full breakdown there. I would say sentiment was fairly bullish, a little more uncertainty and volatility expected in the near term, but we had some shorts expiring, and then there was a big emphasis that we had in that video on some of the data collection that they're having. So that was a focus. Now, when it comes to the last one we'll be covering here, I think it was earlier, it was GLXY. GLXY. We'll take a look there. So GLXY, Galaxy Digital Inc. I haven't really done much with this one. I don't know. Okay, so back in 2021, at a big surge, sold as low as $2 a share, and now it's up to, after recovering from 2023, it's spiked out in July here and June up to $25. It looks very overbought, but let's take a look at why it's been surging. So let's jump in. So we're going to look at GLXY stock. Yeah, so the first thing we could see, the revenue has been up, which is good. On the quarterly basis, they had a big spike in revenue, and it's up about 100% year over year. Annually, a little volatile, but overall, it seems that they've come out with better revenue than what you might expect, because their market cap is at about it's about 10 billion. So they're coming in with about 1.65 billion in 2024. Looks like they're going to come in with just around 2 billion in 2025 potentially. Their balance sheet, total assets, has looked good. So I guess it really just comes down to valuation. Let's take a look. Last one here. So it's digital, Galaxy Digital, institutional digital assets. So they're more of like funding and buying and investing, kind of similar to like BlackRock or Grayscale. They invest in data centers. When it comes to their infrastructure, they use AI, and they have some data centers, and they collaborate with Web3 projects and founders. Seems to be a fair amount of growth. A lot of articles about the company. When it comes to their stock and some of the news we have recently, it seems that just kind of looking at the financials at a glance, and what we were able to kind of uncover here is that their net income is not really showing signs of a lot of growth. They do seem to be getting some good revenues, but I wouldn't say that it's a company that I would personally want to invest in. I don't see that there's any real reasons to look at them right now. Their bid ask spread has a lot of stock liquidity. So they do have a lot of stock liquidity, and that oftentimes happens before you see an exit of institutions. I mean, you could see last time it ran up, it sold off aggressively. It kind of almost looks manipulated, right? Big sell push up and then just aggressive sell off. So now it's kind of pushed up aggressively, and it does have a lot of liquidity for if there are some large holders of institutions in the stock, that potentially we could see an exit out and a sell off. It's not the first time we've seen some serious manipulation on the stock. There's been some really interesting spikes. So I just would stay away from it personally. I don't know exactly the full story on the stock, but that's how we'd approach it. So, guys, tomorrow morning, it looks like just about 12 hours until our live trading is happening in 12 hours. If you guys want to join inside of StockMate, get access to the upcoming earnings for this week, as we'll have some targets here dropping this evening on Monday through Friday when the companies are reporting earnings. And I'd also love to send you a free t-shirt and get you joined in on our daily live trading tomorrow morning at market open. We'll be there 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be trading AI, quantum, probably some defense and some space tech most likely. There's some good positions we've had recently. Black Sky's up 77%, AMD 41%, Nvidia's 30%, even OSS, which was a nice call out from one of our members, Kenny. There's some great investors in StockMate. If you want to surround yourself with other investors and be in our daily live trading, I think there's about 48 hours left until lifetime access pricing goes up. So if you want to get the actual lifetime access to being able to be in the sessions Monday through Friday without paying a recurring subscription or anything like that, then you can join us there. Lifetime access to the daily live trading Monday through Friday. It's the second link in the description. And we launched Mercatus, the machine. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, that's going to be in the first link, I believe, in the description to get the full breakdown of the machine. You can actually get an awesome discount where you get stock mates along with one-on-ones with me and our virtual stock trading system, which is a 6-week Zoom class. If you want to do that, then you can find it at cash2assets.com/the machine, or you can go to the first link in the description. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully the internet's been better as I remounted the Starlink today. And thanks for all of the great recommendations. There's some good stocks there. I got them written down. I got some screenshots. So we'll be covering them here in the next week. If I earned your thumbs up, smash the like button. Do consider subscribing. Gonna go hit the gym Sunday night. Is it too late? Maybe we can still do it. And we'll be there tomorrow morning. So I'd love to see you there. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks, Elias, Gilu Baba, Moeen, Radwan, A-Name, David Carpenito says, what would be the biggest catalyst for Big Bear? I would say their financials coming out and showing indication that those contracts really kicked in. Miorara says, make a video about Rich Tech Robotics. I've done it. The financials aren't there. Take a look at their balance sheet. Trust me, you want to look at that before you make a decision. See the value and what they're making. So so really good stuff. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Appreciate you all. See Michael there, and all of you guys here. I appreciate you, Marty, Steven. Thanks for tuning in. Rodrigo, Luca, Boog, Rodrigo again. Real Estate Rescue Podcast. Appreciate it, man. Hey, thanks, guys. And I'll see you. Joseph G. Joseph G says, give me a shout. What's up, Joseph? Thanks for tuning in. And the Ace, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you. Crazy Carl, let's go. See Crazy Carl there. Crazy Carl's in here like every day, man. I always see Crazy Carl. Crazy Carl's a stock mate, isn't he? I think I've seen Crazy Carl in our morning live sessions. Good night, guys. Good night. Have a great Sunday, rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.